I'm sorry I missed the start of your talk, Ken, but when I finished making my comments, I wonder, could you, if you might be going back on something, describe the employers? You know, are they big multinationals? Are they small, individually owned ships? Or are they a mixture of both? And I ask that for a reason, because I know some boat owners around the coast and some trawlers who do employ labour usually from Eastern Europe. And sometimes I think it leaves a lot to be desired the way they are treated also. But I want to make a more general point today with the abuse of work going on, and the definition of a worker and workers' rights is rapidly changing in front of us, and we're not dealing with it. So if you look at bogus self-employment on the construction industry at the moment, why the crane drivers out taking action because of the bogus self-employment contracts that they're having to work under, no protection, no holidays, no sick pay, no legislative protection, no minimum wage. All of this is going on everywhere. But there's another element to this that I think is a wider argument that we have to have both here and across Europe. And the EU has a huge responsibility for it. They have led a racist Europe. They have blocked migrants from getting out of very dangerous situations and taken them with a level of decency into Europe. They're usually black. They're usually from places like Egypt or Somalia. They're drowning by their tens of thousands in the Mediterranean. They're being treated disgracefully by a fortress Europe. Now, if that doesn't say that the fish rots from the head, pardon the pun, then what does? Because they are supposed to give a lead in terms of how we deal with human beings. And when you describe it as modern-day slavery, I totally agree with you. Those sort of conditions are modern-day slavery, but slavery is only acceptable when one set of human beings is seen as a lesser form than another. And when you treat them as lesser people by allowing them to drown in the Mediterranean, by not allowing them into the country, and then by putting them in camps when they get there, when you confine them to the torture of direct provision and don't allow them the right to work and keep them living in a pittance in a place like Mosney, then you are sending out a signal that these are lesser human beings, and the employers pick up on that signal. And then, of course, they exploit the fact that at sea, there's no particular country has responsibility for it once you go outside the 12-mile zone, except for that which bears the flag, and that flag can be changed. And I think that really the whole 9 yards is at play here. But to immediately deal with it, there has to be an investment in inspectorates who will, take this on and have a strategy, and who will check out boats, like you said earlier on. Okay, you may not be able to raid boats and be invisible. We're not the Marines after all. But there's other ways. There's many ways to skin a cat, and there's many ways they could find out. But to my knowledge, I can be corrected on this, there are more dog wardens in this country than there are labour inspectorates. And that goes to the heart of how we treat workers, and in particular migrant workers, and more so again if they're black and if they come from Africa or the Middle East. And that to me is, there's a number of issues at play, and certainly the immediate thing that should be done, if this department and the state has any concern, is to look at the level of employment of inspectors in this level, and to have a strategy to go out and to start finding out what's going on, document it, and go after those who are breaching employment law. And I would have thought that the new minister of this department, given her past role in justice, would have a good bit of experience in this. Whether it's the correct kind of experience she has or not, but I think maybe it's a pity she's not here, but when she is here, maybe she would have something more to add to the discourse, because there's a huge amount at play here and a huge amount at stake.
Thank you. I want to leave in Senator O'Reilly now, and in fairness, the